Well, welcome back everybody to Poolie Mag TV, the raw, unedited, unscripted NUFC fan channel where everybody's got an opinion and nobody's opinion is wrong. So as you can see, this is not my usual destination, but the flat that I live in is getting decorated, so you will have to bear with me. I cannot find the tripod, so I am vertical today. But anyway, the content will be as good as always. We're going to talk about today the 4 years on from PIF. Now, like I say, I know this probably is a few days later than most channels, but I do work. My flat is getting decorated and things like that. So bear with me. You know, the content, I have got content waiting, but it's finding the time to do it and then release it and blah, 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 blah. But as I always say, thank you for everybody who does watch the videos. It means a lot. The people who comment, it really does mean a lot. It's good to have some nice interactions on the videos. Really does help the channel grow, in my opinion, and it makes it more worthwhile for me to do these videos. Because when you're doing videos and you only get 1 or 2, 5 views and a like and a comment, you know, sometimes it can be a little bit disheartening when you spend quite a bit of time doing these videos. So thank you everybody on the last video who commented and liked. There was quite a lot of comments, and most comments I've had for quite a while, so I would like to thank everybody for that. I usually only get about 2.5 minutes view duration, so that's why I'm getting the thanks in at the beginning and not the end. I'm trying to help the channel grow. So if you do like what you see and you like what you hear, please hit like and subscribe and help the channel grow. Share the channel with friends and family, things like that. It looks a little bit better. I've usually got a flag behind me. I've usually got my tripod, but today I'm just winging it. But I woke up feeling fresh and I thought I would do a video on the 4 years since PIF took over. Wow, it's a massive 4 years, isn't it? And it coincides with me changing jobs and all, so that's why it sort of resonates with me a little bit more and all. When PIF took over, I just started a new job and it was quite daunting. Newcastle were bottom of the table. I'd started a new job which I felt a little bit out of me league in. I'd done similar work to what I was going to end up doing, but it was just a little bit more chaotic, a little bit more hectic than I'd planned, and that was Newcastle at the time, and all a little bit more chaotic and a little bit, you know, quicker. You know, the takeover was more chaotic and quicker than we all planned. You know, Simon Jordan had come out and said it was deader than a dead thing from Deadland, and then all of a sudden they come up on Yellow in Sky Sports, and people had cans and they were dancing and singing all through the night, hanging off the rafters. You know, as an old wrestling term there, you know, hanging from the rafters, you know, they were on lampposts, they were dancing in the street. Keith Downey you could hardly hear him on Sky Sports, and Simon Jordan had to eat humble pie, didn't he? And I was sat there thinking, wow, this could be absolutely fantastic, this could be our time now. To get over the Mike Ashley shit, get over Steve Bruce, get over McLaren, get over all them other managers that we had, and let's push forward now. Now, we kept Steve Bruce for a game. You know, we got beat off Tottenham at home. We went 1-0 up actually in that game, and we kept Steve Bruce for that game, and I think that was just a courtesy. I think Steve Bruce knew he was going. I think Steve Bruce knew he wasn't the calibre or the style of manager that Piff or Stavely or anybody wanted. And especially the fans. Now, I didn't hate Steve Bruce. I wasn't a Steve Bruce hater. I wasn't one lobbing cabbages at his head. I wasn't one slating him on social media. I thought he did a good job, not a good job, sorry, an okay job. You look at the points totals that he got the same amount of points as Rafa Benitez got. And when we had some good wins under Steve Bruce, and we probably played better football sometimes under Bruce than we did Rafa. Now, I know that's a controversial opinion, because a lot of people like Rafa Benitez. I think the reason people like Rafa Benitez more than they should really was because he fought against Ashley. He sniped at Ashley in all of his press conferences, and he was sort of the fans' manager instead of Steve Bruce, who come across as Ashley's mate. But I think on the pitch there was no difference for me. We were both managers played mediocre football for me. Rafa Benitez played non-football for quite a long time, and Steve Bruce, at least he tried a little bit when he got Sam Maximin and Callum Wilson, and we had some good wins, but we weren't great, were we? Let's face it, we weren't great, and we weren't ever going to be getting into Europe with Steve Bruce as our manager. So we were looking at Unai Emery, who was the manager of Villarreal at the time, and it went public, and it looked like we were going to get him, and then he snubbed us, and then it looked like, oh God, even with new owners, we're still a bit of a laughing stock here. And then we got Eddie Howe. Now, I've always been a fan of Eddie Howe. I thought what he did at Bournemouth, I think people focused on the relegation season and not the fact that he got them from nearly being relegated from League Two to the Premier League for a few seasons. People seem to cast over that and say, oh, Howe's not a good manager, he got found out. Well, he took a year out, didn't he? He went and watched basketball games, he went and watched rugby games, he went and studied Diego Simeone at Atletico Madrid, he humbled himself and he realised that he needed to change some things. And I was excited. I remember getting on the bus with my dad to work, and we were talking about how Howe plays and things like that. And we were really excited for for Howe coming in. And we weren't one of these like Jamie O'Hara, Eddie Howe. No, we were quietly excited. Don't get me wrong, he's not the biggest name, is he? He wasn't the biggest name in football. He probably is one of the biggest now. But 4 years ago, he was the man who got Bournemouth relegated. He wasn't the man who got Bournemouth from League Two to the Premier League for a few seasons. He was the man who got found out and got Bournemouth relegated. And he's the man who didn't have the balls, as Simon Jordan said, to take the Celtic job. So it was a big risk. Publicly, it was a big risk. But for me, internally, and I think the Newcastle board internally, it wasn't a risk at all. I think they knew what they were getting with Eddie Howe. You're getting a class act, you're getting a forward-thinking manager, you're getting a great man manager, you're getting somebody who can work with the young people, you're getting somebody who can make it galvanise a team, and that's exactly what he's done. Took him a while though. Let's not brush over the fact that I think it took him a good few games to get his first win. I think his first win was against Burnley, but it was the draw against in his first game, and I thought, at least, wow, even in the first game you could see, and he wasn't on the bench for the first game because he had COVID, so you could see, even without COVID, I think of the new manager bounce, but even without being on the sidelines, you could see Jason Tyndall and things like that. Things were going to be changing, slowly but surely they were going to be changing, and we just looked a better team, and then we pushed on a little bit, and we got our first win, and then we got knocked out by Cambridge. And I looked at, and we were struggling. We were struggling, and then that first win didn't lead to 5, 6, 7, 8 wins in a row. We were struggling, and we drew against Watford, and I honestly thought we were down. I thought we were down, and I thought I was in trouble. And not because I didn't like Howe, I just thought the way these Saudis are going to be ruthless. I thought they're going to be like a Chelsea or something, and they're not going to give you the time to bed to your players, and they're not going to give you time. But what they did do in that January was went out and bought Kieran Trippier, Dan Burn, Bruno Guimaraes, Matt Targett on loan. And people forget that Matt Targett was really, really good and all at the back end of that season. Bruno was that bit of class, Dan Burn was that bit of steel, and Trippier was just the guy to pull it all together. And we started getting wins. I remember we beat Leeds away from home, and that was the start then. And I can remember us going on a bit of a run. We beat Everton, I think, at home, and I can't remember every game. It was 3-4 years ago. But the match that stands out for me was right at the end of the season. We went on a bit of a run, and we faced Arsenal at home. And I watched it with my dad, and I said, these aren't ready for us. And he looked at me and he went, well, you're right, son. You could see the fear in their eyes. War flags was there. The crowd was bouncing. Everything was going. The noise, and they were a young team at the time, Arsenal. And they've matured a lot now, but they were a young team at the time. They weren't finishing second then, they were finishing 8th and 7th, I think. And they just looked really, I don't want none of this. And they didn't, and we battered them, and we absolutely battered them and all. And there were still levels above us at the time, so to batter a team like Arsenal at home and make them fearful of coming to St James Park, you can see the fear in their eyes. It's not often you see that. You can see you see genuine fear in the Arsenal players' eyes, and that's when I knew we were going to go on to do something special. We recruited well that summer. We got Isaac. Who else did we get? We got Nick Pope, we got Isaac, we got Botman. So there's a good summer. Probably got somebody else in there and all. Sometimes these transfer windows merge into one for me. There's that many of them, isn't there? sometimes you forget what season they come in and that. But we finished 4th that season. Callum Wilson, 18 goals. Isaac, at the back end of the season, played really well. We got Anthony Gordon in the January transfer window. I do know that. And we were absolutely fantastic. We were great. We played some awesome football. Our defence was unbelievable. And I just remember thinking, get in. We got to the Carabao Cup final that season and all. And got just to say got beat off Manchester United. Not just to say, sorry, we did get beat off Manchester United. They were by far the better team. The occasion got to us. The occasion got to us. Got to the Champions League goal that season, which really made up for it. Played really good football. And then we get to the Champions League and we batter PSG, and that's one of the best games I've ever seen as a Newcastle fan. One of the best games I've ever seen as a Newcastle fan. It was just fantastic. From start to finish, we battered one of the best teams in Europe. But we got schooled off Dortmund. The league form started to drop a little bit. We got loads of injuries. We go out to the Champions League, and I'm starting to question Howe now. Really relentlessly starting to question them. And I was on the bit, well, not bit. I'll be honest, I was swaying to the Howe out brigade. I really was. Now, I know my dad wasn't, and I'll give him credit for that, because me and him had a bit of a difference of opinion. I'm a bit more reactionary than he is when it comes to football. He was trust the process. Well, how can you trust the process? And then, as Howe does, he galvanises the team, and he galvanises it again. And we finished 7th that season. And we should have got Europe. But we didn't get Europe because Manchester United won the FA Cup. And that was a blessing in disguise for me, not getting Europe. Bearing in mind, we hadn't bought anybody now. This is coming up to 3 transfers in a row, 3 transfer windows in a row. We didn't buy anybody. We didn't buy anybody last summer either. So we stuck with the same team as what we had. When injuries come back, we got rid of Minter, we got rid of Anderson. And I'm thinking, what are we going to do? And to be fair, we weren't great where we got beat off Brentford away. That was the turning point of the season. How this is the type of guy Howe is. He got everybody in, and he had one-to-one conversations with them. What do you want from me? And this is what I expect from you, type of thing. Old school, man-to-man management. None of this farting about. Got them in, and then we went on a massive run, didn't we? We went on a huge run where we beat Arsenal away from home, Manchester United away from home, Tottenham away from home, Villa at home. I think we was only one defeat in 19 games or something like that. And then, I know I'm skipping past games. I'm not going to do every game we've ever played. But I'm just giving you the feel. We were building momentum then. We were looking at this as if to say yes. And I was wrong. I said I'm wrong about Howe. I'm sorry, because I was out again when we got beat off Brentford. I thought he just doesn't learn his mistakes. He doesn't learn from his lessons, but he does. Howe does learn from his mistakes, and he does learn his lessons. And then we get to the semi-final against Arsenal at the Carabao Cup, and we absolutely destroyed them. We battered them at our place, and we did a proper away performance at their place, and I'm thinking, get in. And then it's like, oh God, Liverpool, the best team in the league. Gives a break, man, are we? You know what I mean? And we go into that Carabao Cup final, and we wanted it. Howe had learnt his lesson from not getting the hotel in the city centre. He got it out the way, so we weren't distracted. We didn't have all the noise and all the fan noise distracting us. We went in there. Liverpool took it as, we're winning the league. This is just the Carabao Cup. We were like, yeah, this is our Champions League. And it was, and we battered them. We destroyed Liverpool all game. And it shouldn't have been 2-1. It should have been more than that. From start to finish, first 2 balls kicked, I thought, I'll be able to tell within the first 2 minutes whether we're up for this or not. And I was like, yes, because we had a shot or something in a tackle, and it was fantastic. And to bring that trophy home from Eddie Howe, wow, this is what Eddie Howe's done in the 4 years for me. He's brought the club back. He's brought it back to the fans. He makes you proud to be a Newcastle fan. You know now when you put your Newcastle shirt on, you're not going to get laughed at. Look at that shit team you support. You know you've got your club back now with Eddie Howe. Yes, we don't win every game. Yes, sometimes his selections are infuriating. But what he is is an elite level man manager, and he's brought us back to where we belong. A talking point now. We're not challenging for the league yet, but we've got a quality squad now. We really have got a quality squad. We've got more money to spend since we've sold the rat and all. And we're only going to keep pushing on and pushing on. And Eddie Howe, from 4 years, has turned us from a relegation team to a contender. You know, and he doesn't get any praise or enough praise in the media. It's all about Pep, who spends billions. It's all about Klopp, who spent billions but net spend, you know, and all that rubbish, and Slot and everybody else gets all the plaudits. But Eddie Howe just goes about his job, doesn't he? Eddie Howe doesn't need plaudits. He plaudits himself. Eddie Howe validates himself. The 52,000 fans every other week at St James's Park validate Eddie Howe, because we've got our club back. And thank you, Eddie Howe, for that. And thank you, PIF, for that. And I haven't been 100% PIF for the 4 years, and I haven't been 100% Eddie Howe, but I am today when making this video. We are allowed to change opinions. We are allowed to have feelings as fans. You know, we are allowed to be wrong about things. And that's in life in general too. But as I've made this video, Eddie Howe is the greatest manager Newcastle United have ever had. And he's only continue to build on that legacy. I loved watching Keegan. I loved watching Bobby Robson. But no, they didn't bring me a trophy. You know, they gave me my club back. And that's exactly what Eddie Howe's done. He's given me my club back. He's made me feel proud to be a Newcastle fan again. But he's also given me the fact that I can say, yes, we finally won a trophy. So thank you, Eddie Howe. Thank you, PIF. And here's to another 4 glorious years. Toon, black and white army. Anyway, see you later, folks. Have a fantastic weekend. Have a great weekend. Keep it black and white. Keep it Pooley Mag TV. Over and out.